Chris Eubank Jr. has reacted to Conor Benn training footage ahead of their anticipated upcoming clash. However, Roy Jones Jr. believes that the fight between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn will be exciting. He says Conor has great punching power, but Chris has the advantage because he's the bigger fighter. Roy thinks Chris should win the fight by outboxing Conor and being smarter, especially in the early rounds. However, he warns that Conor's strong punch means Chris will need to stay focused and careful.
I think it's going to be a very good fight. Conor has punching power chances. Chris is the bigger guy, so you give Chris the advantage going in because he's a bigger guy, but Conor does have exceptional punching power, so it's going to be a great fight. I think Chris should win the fight. I think Chris should outbox him, outsmart him, but he will have to be smart early because Conor is a great puncher.
Roy also gave advice to Conor Benn about moving up in weight. He explained that it's important for Conor to keep his basic skills and fundamentals the same, even with the extra weight. The added weight might give him more power, but if he doesn't maintain his fundamentals, it could actually take away from his strength. Roy suggests that Conor should take his fundamentals with him to be successful in a higher weight class.
Hey, take your fundamentals with you. You know what I'm saying? Because if you can't take your fundamentals, you can't go nowhere. If you can take your basic foundation and your basic fundamentals, it all stays the same. A little more weight just means a little bit more power. But if you don't take the fundamentals with you, a little more weight will mean a little less power. So I advise him to take his fundamentals with him when he's going.
Frank Warren said that the best fight isn't necessarily the best in terms of skill, but it is one that the public demands due to the fighter's history. This demand is what makes the fight so popular and profitable. As for how it will play out, Warren expressed uncertainty, particularly regarding whether Conor can manage giving away the weight, though he hopes he can.
First of all, we all talk about the best fight and the best. That's not the best fight and the best, but it's a fight. There's a demand for it from the public because of their history. So that's why it's selling so well and doing so much business. How do I see it playing out? I don't know if Conor can give away the weight. I don't know. I hope he can.
Moreover, Dev Saney said that he wants to see how the fighters look at the weigh-in. He mentioned that Chris Eubank Jr. has to make weight and also has to rehydrate after the weigh-in. Dev feels that a lot of the fight will depend on how comfortable Eubank is at the weight they will fight at. He believes that Conor Benn is smaller, but very aggressive and will try to knock out Eubank quickly. Dev wonders if Eubank has the energy to handle Benn's attack and make it to the second half of the fight. In the end, he's not sure who will win, but he will definitely be watching the fight.
I want to see what they look like at the weigh-in, and even then he's got to make a weight afterwards, doesn't he? He's got a rehydration thing. I think a lot of this feels like it depends on how comfortable Chris Eubank Jr. is at the weight that they're going to end up fighting at, and that's where it kind of lies for me. Conor Benn is smaller, but he's very, very aggressive, and he'll be looking to just try and knock out Eubank as quickly as possible. And I think it's about, can Eubank, does he have the energy resource to kind of weather the storm and see Ben in the second half of the fight? That's kind of where it lies for me. I don't know, but I'll be tuned in on DAZN.
However, Chris Eubank Jr. was asked if he feels he has enough time to achieve his goals in boxing. He responded that despite being 35 years old, he still has plenty left in him. He mentioned that Conor Benn might think he is washed up and finished, but he believes he has a lot more to offer. Eubank also pointed out the opportunities provided by organizations and figures like Riyadh Season, Saudi Arabia, and Al Sheikh, which are giving fighters new chances. So he feels he still has enough time to continue on his path and achieve his goal.
To your career, as in, have you got enough time to achieve what you want to achieve?
Absolutely. I'm 35 years old, and according to Conor Benn, I'm washed up and finished, but you know, there is a lot that I still have left in the tank, regardless of what people may think. And that, coupled with the opportunities that Riyadh Season, Saudi, Turkey Al Sheikh are the opportunities that these outfits are giving to fighters now. Absolutely, I've got plenty of time to to continue on my own path.
Carl Frampton said that he would like to see Chris Eubank Jr. move up to 168 pounds because he thinks fighting at 160 pounds is starting to hurt him. He added that the appeal of the fight between Eubank and Conor Benn is huge, and even he, as a boxing purist, is excited for it. Frampton expressed his anticipation for fight week, expecting a lot of chaos, and he's really looking forward to the fight itself.
I'd like to see Eubank stay at, I think 160 is hurting him now. I would like to see him fight at 168. But the appeal of this fight is massive. It's something that, I mean, it's even got my attention. Like, and I see myself as a boxing purist, but I can't wait. I can't wait for fight week. I think there's going to be chaos.
Yeah.
And then I can't wait for the fight.
Roy Williamson, who sparred with Chris Eubank Jr., said that he is really excited as a fan for the upcoming fight between Eubank and Conor Benn. He predicted that Eubank would win, explaining that Eubank has fought better caliber opponents, is bigger and stronger. He also mentioned that Conor Benn is not the same fighter since he got caught with performance-enhancing drugs, lacking the same explosiveness and ability to knock people out. Troy added that if asked a year ago, he might have picked Benn, but now, with everything being on a level playing field, he would go with Eubank.
Obviously, he's got the big fight with Conor Benn coming up. How do you think that's going to go?
I'm really excited as a fan, but if I was to pick a winner, I'd go with Eubank.
Why's that?
And I think he's been in with the better caliber of opponents. He's bigger, he's obviously stronger. I think Conor Benn's not the same fighter since he got caught with them performance enhancing drugs in his system. I don't think he's the same fighter. He hasn't got the same explosiveness, not completely out no more. So if you asked me last year, I would have probably went with Conor Benn. But obviously now on a level playing field, got to go with Chris.
However, Chris Eubank Jr. is looking more than in shape ahead of his highly anticipated fight with Conor Benn. His physique is sharper, showcasing his dedication to intense training. Eubank has focused on improving his strength and endurance, aiming to dominate the ring and prove his superiority over Benn. Kiernan Bradley, who has sparred both Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn, believes the fight will come down to who performs best on the night. He acknowledges that Eubank is the bigger man, but Benn brings speed and powerful punches. Bradley anticipates a thrilling match, showcasing the powerful legacies of both fighters' families, with both having something special to prove. He refrains from making a prediction, as both fighters have the potential to deliver on the big night.
He's the bigger man, but Conor has spite in his hands. He's quick, he's not boiling himself down, so you know what I mean? We could sit here and talk about all the points he's going to make, either fighter going to win the fight, but we are prize fighters at the end of the day, so who's going to show up on the night, and I think that's what it'll come down to.
You looking forward to being there for the fight, and do you have a prediction?
No prediction. I know both fighters, and I think that both of them are going to show up on the night, and I think we're going to be in for an absolute treat. I think it really does display the power of the legacy build that Senior and Nigel Benn had.
Barry Hearn views the impending clash between Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn as one of the most significant bouts ever in the UK, driven by the deep personal history between their fathers. He's supporting Conor Benn, believing the fighter has a strong desire to prove himself after overcoming setbacks. Barry sees the match as evenly balanced, but thinks Benn has the power to stop Eubank Jr., even though Eubank has a size advantage.
I'm going to let you go, Barry, won't I? But at the end of the month, obviously, big fight. Eubank Jr. takes on Conor Benn. Well talked about, well documented. Where are you on it?
I think it's going to be a massive fight. I think it's arguably one of the biggest fights ever to take place in England. The personalities, the backstory between the dads, everything works to make this humongous. We could have sold 500,000 tickets. I think I'm with Conor Benn on this. I think he's gone through more than enough in his life, which has now been completely exonerated. What a waste of 2 years of a young man's life. He's got a point to prove, but Eubank is the bigger man. So I see it as a 50-50 fight, and I believe that Conor Benn can knock out Eubank Jr.
Eubank stated that Chris Eubank Jr. is far superior to Conor Benn in terms of experience and the quality of opponents he's faced. While recognizing that Chris might face challenges due to the weight difference, Harlem highlighted that Chris's boxing skills and overall ability are on a much higher level than Benn.
I think Chris is leaps and bounds ahead of Conor. His experience, the guys he's been in with, take away the weight, because Chris is obviously going to be disadvantaged in there with the weight as well, but just ability, boxing skill set is on a completely different level.
Asif believes the upcoming fight between Conor Benn and Chris Eubank is a tightly contested one. While he acknowledges Chris's superior career achievements, he feels Conor's hunger to prove himself might give him an edge. Izzy shares Ricky Hatton's view that Conor's extra drive could be crucial, though he also notes that Eubank's size advantage will be significant. The rivalry feels authentic, and Izzy is thrilled by the intensity it brings.
I really think it's close. I think Billy Joe beats them both.
Not the same night, but he beats them both. I really do, different level. I like Conor Benn. I know he come to our last York Road show, so on that basis, I think potentially got a bit more hunger. Potentially the one who's, I say Chris probably already kind of not made his mark in the game, but probably achieved a bit more than Conor Benn. I can feel like Conor, especially with the last couple of years he had, I feel like he's got a lot to prove. So maybe he has got more hunger. Maybe he's got more desire. Maybe he's got a bit more to prove. So Conor Benn probably has that little bit edge, and Ricky's probably got right to say that. But it's a close one. You know, size is going to play a big factor in it. And yeah, it's exciting. It's got a lot of history to it, a lot of rivalry. I think it's genuine rivalry and all. I don't think it's like...
Izzy is critical of some controversial moments in the build-up, such as the egg incident, which he feels went too far. While he doesn't condone such actions, he still believes the fight will capture huge attention and be a sellout, filled with history and fierce competition.
The numbers done great, and the egg smashing in the face, which I didn't agree with, by the way. I think we're below the belt to use an object and smash it in anybody's face. It's not something I'd encourage as opposed to the fights, but it happens. He's done the numbers, and good luck to them both. But the show's going to be an absolute sellout. I'm sure it'll do big numbers online, but yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Josh Kelly views the upcoming fight between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn as a pivotal moment for both fighters. He believes Eubank may be nearing the end of his career and wonders if he can still handle the energetic Benn. However, Kelly questions whether Benn is truly ready for such a high-level challenge, given his lack of experience against opponents like Eubank. He also criticizes Benn for frequently calling out fighters but failing to follow through on those challenges, suggesting Benn excels at making noise but hasn't proven himself in the ring.
Towards the end, Ben's obviously went through his stuff, so it's just a crossroads. It's just like, has Eubank got enough left in him to deal with someone who's going to be lots of energy, and is he really what he is? He hasn't really boxed at the caliber of Eubank, so it's like, Ben's been calling me out for years. He's the best guy called people out, not fighting him. I think he's called every person out on the face of the earth, never fucking fought him. And he's just waited out for this Eubank fight. But it's fucking funny. It's actually clever.